Hey y'all, welcome back to the Board Game Archives. For our first ever Versus video, we're going to be looking at two different expansion packs for the Ticket to Ride series, Ticket to Ride Africa and Ticket to Ride Asia. Let's jump straight on in with an exploration of how we do our reviews here. For this Versus video, we're going to be using the same exact review criteria that we typically use in our normal reviews. We're going to look at 5 different categories, those being accessibility, replayability, aesthetics, cost, and time. Usually we'd rate on a 5-star system, so the higher number of stars you get, the better off your game is. But instead for Versus, we're going to be reviewing the games against one another. So whoever we feel is better at any given topic is going to receive a point in that category. And whoever ends up with more points ends up being the victor of the Versus video. So we're going to give you a brief overview on how each game plays, and then we're going to jump into the actual review. Let's start off with the similarities of each game. In both Ticket to Ride Africa and Ticket to Ride Asia, you are a railroad magnate, and it is your job to expand your railroad empire as much as you can throughout the continent in question. Each route is color-coded. The colors are specific in Ticket to Ride Africa, but are randomized throughout Ticket to Ride Asia. I'll explain that more as we go along. In both scenarios, though, players can take turns drawing different color-coded train cards. These train cards can be used to then claim routes. So for instance, if a route is 4 red squares long, you can play 4 red cards to claim that route. The rainbow card on the bottom right can be used as a sort of catch-all card, so you can use it in place of any other color. So in the scenario of the 4 red cards, you could instead use 2 red cards and 2 rainbow cards and achieve the same effect. Once train cards are played, you can then find a route of the same color and number and then begin putting your trains down. Points are earned depending on how long each route is. Now let's look into the differences between the two games. For Ticket to Ride Africa, keen-eyed players may immediately notice that the routes are color-coded based off the terrain of the African continent. This is why the warm, cool, and neutral colors have been mixed together so meticulously. Ticket to Ride Africa also introduces these terrain cards. By playing these terrain cards alongside your normal train cards, you get double the amount of points that you would normally get, and so this adds a new level of strategy and depth to the normal gameplay loop. In addition to the train and terrain cards are route cards. Completing a route card adds extra points to your overall score. Additionally, whoever can complete the most route cards adds another 10 points to their score. Adding these additional point bonuses incentivizes players to continue exploring, finding new strategies, and optimizing gameplay in such a way that encourages replayability, increasing the odds that a player would play a second, third, or fourth time. Ticket to Ride Asia, meanwhile, is very unique in that it introduces team play. Instead of everybody for themselves, you can have up to 6 players combined into teams of 2. Another major change that Ticket to Ride Asia implements is that there's actually 2 different maps, one on either side. The first map being Modern Asia, and the second map being a Legendary Asia, comprised of many cities throughout history. Route cards make their return in Ticket to Ride Asia, and are separated between the 2 game modes, the Modern and the Legendary versions, and these nice little wooden stands help players that are working together look at the same cards at the same time while adding privacy against opposing teams. While terrain cards do not make a comeback in this game, the routes are a lot more randomized in their coloring, and also there are new routes for players to contend with. Some routes, although small on paper, have a number with them. In this scenario, you would have to follow the number when playing cards. So in this scenario here, even though the gray and orange routes are each only 1 square long, you would have to play 6 and 5 cards respectively in order to truly claim them. Usually, you need 1 train for each square, but for squares with an X over it, you would need 2 trains. So for instance, the orange and black routes with 2 squares each in the middle of the screen, would need 4 trains in order to claim. Meanwhile, to the left of the orange and black routes are a green and pink route. For each of them, one square has an X and the other square does not. As a result, you would need 3 trains for those. Now that we've explored the differences and similarities in gameplay for both Ticket to Ride Asia and Ticket to Ride Africa, we're going to take each game through our 5 rating categories and determine which one is the best based on those categories. As always, if you find yourself agreeing or disagreeing with any of our points, please let us know down in the comments. The first topic we typically look at is accessibility. How easy is it for somebody to pick up a game and start playing? And while we at the Board Game Archives are board game hobbyists, we play multiple times a week, we like to look at accessibility through the eyes of somebody who may not play that often. Maybe you're a parent who wants to buy a board game for Christmas for your kids. Maybe you're hosting a college board game night and want to find something new to play. So we like to look at accessibility through the eyes of somebody who is not constantly playing. How easy is it for you to pick up and play? As such, we're going to give the accessibility points to Ticket to Ride Africa. Ticket to Ride Asia, while it has many fun and unique features, is double-sided, meaning you need to learn twice the rules in order to fully enjoy the game. The only major difference between Ticket to Ride Africa and the typical Ticket to Ride format is the existence of the terrain cards. However, we personally found that those are very easy to understand, and we only needed a game or two to fully grasp how they play. A quick positive note for accessibility for both games that we wanted to mention at the end of this segment is that you're currently watching video of us going through the rulebooks for each game. The rulebooks are quite big, but they include rules in many different languages, and so each language only takes up about 2 pages each. We love how inclusive of language these games are, and we hope that other games follow suit. Replayability is just as it sounds. Is the game unique enough, and does it provide enough content to warrant multiple playthroughs? And we feel that Ticket to Ride Asia is more replayable. We love the idea of terrain cards in Ticket to Ride Africa. We feel that it's a very fresh, unique, and fun twist on the typical Ticket to Ride format. But in our minds, it pales in comparison to the fact that Ticket to Ride Asia has 2 separate sides, each with their own gameplay. Due to one side being modern and the other side being historical, there are different locations to work with. The routes are different in both size and color. And the introduction of different types of routes, like the numbered routes or the routes that have the X's over them. You're essentially buying 2 games for one when you purchase Ticket to Ride Asia, and so we argue that Ticket to Ride Asia is a lot more replayable. For aesthetics, we look at 2 different things. How does the game look, and how does the game feel? This one was honestly the most difficult for us to rate upon because these 2 games are made by the same exact company. As a result, the feel and look of the game are going to be very similar. The looks and the quality of the boards, the trains, and the cards are all nearly identical because they're made by the same company, but there is one individual piece in one of the games that we feel makes this specific game the winner in terms of aesthetics. The wooden blocks that hold your cards in Ticket to Ride Asia. These blocks are actually a lot sturdier and well made than you would initially think just by looking at them. And they fit quite nicely with the look that Ticket to Ride Asia is going for. Because the aesthetics of these 2 games are so similar, we're going to consider these blocks as a tiebreaker, meaning that Ticket to Ride Asia gets the point for aesthetics here. For time, we look at how long it takes for somebody to set up a game, play through it, and then put it away. We always look for a perfect middle spot. Not so long that it takes all day to play through, but at the same time not so short that you can finish it up in less than 10 minutes. Both games play between 30 and 60 minutes on average, and so as a result we're going to rely on personal experience and give the point here to Ticket to Ride Africa. When we play these 2 games, we've found that typically we can play through Ticket to Ride Africa a little bit faster than we can with Ticket to Ride Asia. We feel that both games are in that perfect middle spot, and so we feel that the quicker game should get the nod here. We found that whenever we play, we can set the game up in about 5 to 7 minutes or so, play the game in about 30 minutes, and then put it away in about 5. On average, Ticket to Ride Asia takes about 10 minutes longer total in order to play, and so as a result, we like the fact that Ticket to Ride Africa is just the tiniest bit quicker. Cost is our final category, and with the games tied at 2 points apiece, the winner of this category will be the winner of our first ever Versus video. And for us, cost simply means, does the content of the game justify its price? So which of these two games is more worth it? Both games cost us $30, and both games require both Ticket to Ride and Ticket to Ride Europe in order to fully play. As a result, both games are on even playing field in terms of pure cost. So instead, we're going to be looking at how much the game has to offer. Which game has more content? And is that content worth the full price? We'll be giving this last point to Ticket to Ride Asia for one reason: the fact that the board is double-sided. Just as I stated in the replayability section, we love the fact that this map is double-sided between a modern version and a historical version. We feel that the map being double-sided, plus the fact that there are different route cards for the two separate sides, adds to the overall value of Ticket to Ride Asia. Again, we love the way that Ticket to Ride Africa plays, we love the terrain cards, however, we don't feel that the terrain cards really hold up when compared to the fact that Ticket to Ride Asia, like I said, has two separate sides, each with their own route cards. That's why we've decided that Ticket to Ride Asia is more worth the overall cost. For our first Versus video, Ticket to Ride Asia wins by a grand total of 3 points to 2. We look forward to doing more Versus videos like this in the future with games that are similar, so let us know your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for joining us today.